I'm Christy. Today I want to talk to you about how to travel safely and wisely. So last week I talked about not being afraid to begin to travel again. I've got a link to that post in the blog. You can find that at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in October of 2021. But how do you travel safely, practically speaking? That's a great question. Here's a few thoughts. So this holiday season, we are uncharacteristically potentially planning to travel for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now, while it's not uncommon for us to be gone for one or the other, I can't think of another year off the top of my head where we've been gone for both holidays. Now, I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember specifically when that was. And I find it kind of ironic since COVID is still a fairly big consideration, at least in our area. The areas we're looking to travel to are large enough metropolitan areas that I wouldn't be surprised if they have a higher level of concern in them as well. We'll most likely drive for both holidays, which limits some exposure, airports with lots of other travelers, enclosed airplanes for long periods of time, but it also increases exposure as we'll be making more stops along the way. Gas stops, potty stops, meals, you get the idea. Since we'll be visiting family primarily, I know that those we'll be spending the most time with are already vaccinated. No, I'm not going to go into that. I'm just stating a fact here. This means that our exposure risk will be lessened, and our risk to others catching this nastiness from an undiscovered exposure is significantly reduced as well. That's a relief. Now, I'm not sure how much we'll go out and about while we're with our family members, and I'm sure a lot of it will depend on the risk at the time. But I'm looking forward to being together again, especially since one of these trips has been postponed twice over the last 2 years because of COVID. At some point, we just have to say, is enough. Enough is enough. We're going to go. So planning a trip can be complicated in the best of circumstances, adding COVID considerations, and it can easily become overwhelming. But I don't think it has to be that way, at least not at this point. A year ago, absolutely. Today, not so much. While I'm a firm believer that you still need to take extra precautions because of COVID, I also believe that it is significantly safer to travel today than it was even 6 months ago. The vaccines are doing their job in helping to lower the number of new cases. And while new variants are popping up and challenging that statement, I believe that overall, things are improving. But again, I still think some extra caution is necessary, or at least some extra thought. Here's a few extra things I'll be considering in planning our trips. Do I have hand sanitizer readily accessible at all times? Does everyone traveling with me have a mask readily accessible? Do I know what the requirements are for the areas we'll be traveling through to reach our destination? Will we have to stay overnight on the way to our destination? Are there any extra supplies that I could pack that would simplify our trip and or limit our exposure while traveling to and from our destination? Now I admit, I'm probably overthinking this, and I suspect my husband is rolling his eyes and nodding his head, yes, I am overreacting. But I'm not sure that's all bad. For me, it's not a lot of extra work to go through these steps, and it provides peace of mind knowing that I'm protecting those that I'm coming into contact with. And since I know some of them fall in a higher risk category, I want to do all I can to protect them from exposure. If that means putting me out a bit, well, then so be it. So where does this leave me? How does this apply to you as you make your travel plans? Well, as I said last week, don't be afraid to travel. Make the plans, visit the places. Just realize that it might take some extra thought ahead of time. And you may decide that you need a few extra items with you as you go about your day. Secondly, take a few extra minutes to think through the extra precautions that you feel are necessary while getting to and from your destination. Third, consider your destination and whether or not any extra precautions or requirements are necessary while you're enjoying your trip. And finally, have fun. The whole point of traveling is to enjoy your time away. Experience new adventures, see new places, try new activities, do all the things. Just do them thoughtfully and include a little extra preparation. So my question for you this week is this. Do you have travel plans over the holiday season? Or at maybe some other time soon? I'd love to hear about it. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on the blog. That's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in October of 2021. I'm thinking through the extras so that I can continue to say that life is good and there is never a dull moment.